Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. How's everybody? Let's do some joys and concerns. I'm getting a lot of questions, and rather than answering them helter skelter, who's got a question? Go ahead.
Can you just review the dates to remember and then the last bits of like paperwork we have to fill out?
Yes. Good question. Dates to remember and last bits of paperwork. There's a sheet that your co-op received. There's one in your handbook that says certain dates for observations and certain dates for certain things. Your supervisor is going to observe you, but those dates and those requests are from your co-op. Your co-op actually has to do 2 observations of you as part of your placement, okay? They got the sheets in their bag. Those dates aren't ironclad. We don't lay awake nights on that. What I don't want to see them do is get to the very end of your placement and on the same day, your last day, do 2 quick observations. The idea is for you to get feedback from an observation as you go. So if they haven't filled out an observation yet, you can go in tomorrow and say, have pain in the neck Carnes, want you to fill out one of these observation forms. Would you please do it sometime? And it's just a write-up. Does that make sense? At the end of the placement, and we'll go over this more next week, but at the end of the placement, there's one form they have to fill out called a PDE 430. It's a front and back. We'll explain that next week. If they ask you about it, it's never seen by anyone. Human eyes never lay an eye on it after they do it. The state requires it. I stick it in your file. They could write on there, Mr. Carnes is a pain in the neck. I won't know it. All right? So tell them not to spend a lot of time on that. But there's that, a letter of recommendation. That's your final evaluation. And your assignment sheets and other things. We'll talk about that. Did I answer that? Does that got it? Great. Other questions? Yes, sir.
So we've written like a lot of lesson plans, obviously. I have them piled up. Do we need to save those for like our final portfolio, for our interviewing portfolios?
I love that question, by the way.
I'm kind of wondering, do I want like 1 or 2 good lesson plans in my portfolio, or?
Here's the thing about portfolios. We're going to talk a little bit about portfolios at the end. We're going to talk a lot more about it next week because but there's some things I want you to know about your portfolio. But as far as things like that, I've seen portfolios where you need a dolly to bring them into the room. Okay, literally, people go out. I didn't know you could buy a 6-inch 3-ring binder, but they buy these binders and they come in like this. You look silly. You look silly coming in with that thing because you've got an interview team that's going to interview 15 people today for 30 minutes each, and you come in with a 400-page portfolio, all right? You need to pick things for in that portfolio that you think will best show you off. You probably should put a lesson plan in there in case they ask you a question, how are you at lesson plan? But put one in there that you're excited about. You know, here again, so you play the game. Put one in there that when they say, how about lesson planning? Say, well, let me show you the one I did on this and this and this. See? Okay? So, no, you don't need that whole pile of those. Don't get rid of this batch until you leave this placement. Your supervisor might want them or something, but once they say, I'm done with those, you are too. Let's finish with portfolios since we're there. It's good timing. We're going to start in week after next, we're going to start in phase 2 of seminar. Phase 2 of seminar is getting you ready to go out into the cold, cruel world. I usually say the cold, cruel world of unemployment, but that's not funny, is it? But you're going out into the cold, cruel world. We're going to start on things like portfolios and interviewing and finding jobs and all that stuff, all that real hands-on stuff. As per portfolio, we said it before, but it pays for you to hear it again. You should be gathering things now that are going to make that interesting. Things like pictures of bulletin boards, pictures of kids up dancing, whatever. And again, if your faces are in it, they can be identified, you need those things. But it could be pictures of you dressed up for Dr. Seuss Day or whatever. If you already did Dr. Seuss Day, dress up again. Have somebody take your picture. This kind of thing. If you did manipulatives, if there's something the kids did that's hands-on, that you can put in one of those little pockets. Here's how I, as an interviewer, treated a portfolio. You'd come in, you're nervous, you'd have your portfolio and you'd have some resumes and you'd pass the resumes out. And then we'd usually say, pass your portfolio around while you're talking. So you're answering questions and I'm leafing, okay, quickly. And I'm looking for, I'll read the first 2 lines of your opening letter. I'm not going to read your whole letter while you're sitting there. I'm going to say, how's this person sound? If the letter starts out,
I found your job.
I found your job, thank you very much. I found your job in the newspaper. I don't care where you found my job, all right? I care for you to say, I've been dying to teach all my life and I'm so excited to be here today. So I'm going to read that. I'm going to look at your grades. I will look at your grades. Be ready on that if you need to be. I had to be. Be ready on that. The unanswered, I'll say to you, notice freshman year grades were not so hot. Things got better. What happened? Have an answer. You know, you don't want to say, you know, I partied too much. You could say I was homesick, whatever. Have an answer. But also what I'm looking for in there is exciting things. I'll pull out a manipulative and say, tell me about this. I might interrupt you. Jeff knows, and sitting in black, I'll say, wait, forget that answer. Tell me about these popsicle sticks. What are these about? All right? Or tell me this picture here where all the kids look like dinosaurs. Explain that to me. So that's what you want to be gathering. One thing on your portfolio, everybody listen carefully, okay? All ears on me. One thing in your portfolio that you do need to do in the next 2 weeks is a 360 evaluation. People get all twittipated about a 360. All that means is a lesson or a unit that you teach over the next 2 weeks, you need to get feedback from your kids on what they thought of it. All right? If you have kindergarten, you get a little smiley face, a frowny face, and a medium face. Was this lesson exciting? They color one in, right? Did you learn about dinosaurs? Kindergartners tend to give you a really good 360, so don't worry too much about it. But you get what I'm saying? As you get older, it can be any kind of a survey you want. But a 360 means you're going to ask the kids what they thought of the lesson. You're going to have your co-op fill out an evaluation. You might even send some of them to the parents, a couple of parents, or whatever. Get some feedback. Some of the things we've seen in portfolios that are really cool, some of the students have had kids write an evaluation of them. All right, not of a lesson, but in general. Or write a letter to them. Your co-op could say that. Let's all write a letter to so-and-so, and then you pick some of those out. They're fun. They're fun to put in. Whatever. That's the kind of stuff you're gathering. Questions on that issue? Yes?
How many of those surveys do you want?
I don't.
No, I mean in general. Do you
Yeah, no, I don't know that you got to survey every class and everything. Although it's good feedback. You know, I would survey, if you're teaching 3 classes, I know you're teaching World War II. If you're teaching 3 classes, even on one part of it, say this section on this, do you feel it was interesting? 1 to 5. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just long-term on that, you know, student teaching, you're pretty busy doing stuff, but long-term, when you get a job, that's a good thing to do on a regular basis. Finish up a unit and have some sort of feedback from your students as to how well it went. What was really helpful, what was confusing, those types of things.
I did it every year as a teacher. At the end of the year, I had kids evaluate me. I had 10 questions, 1 to 5, and then I had, what did you like in this class? What do you feel could have been better? What comments? Those were on the back. Those things were wonderful, and I would chart the numbers 1 to 5 every year and see where was I last year, where am I this year. I also did it as principal, and I also did it as superintendent. I got feedback. Now, in your first couple of years, go ahead, Jeff.
Just the idea, you're getting feedback, and kids tend to be pretty candid, so you can't be defensive. You're looking for feedback because you want information to be better the next time you do it. So if you get a whole bunch of kids say, I don't understand what was going on for 3 days, then it's a good idea to reflect on that and try to make some adjustments.
Yes.
Just don't look at all the positive ones and feel, you know.
Or all the negative ones, you can start looking for a bridge. I mean,
Yeah.
when I used to do that, I did that for all 10 years that I taught, and it was interesting. I would chart it. There was a year, it was about my 5th year, several of the kids, I don't know if it's a bunch, but several said, you have favorites. Jeff's right, they'll be very honest, very candid, and very open. And I had kids say, you had favorites this year, and I did. I did. I just kicked myself, because they were right, and it didn't happen again. You know, I had some kids in there that I knew, some kids I knew outside of the school, and I was playing to them in the room. And I realized, and it was such a nice thing. And when I did it as a principal, my first year, there were 8 of them that hoped I died over the summer. And so I took that to heart too. I didn't leave. And some of them, thank goodness, retired. But it didn't matter. I took it to heart, what they said. And so I would get evaluation at your level especially, from every kid at the end. And for yourself, you don't have to put it in a portfolio. You will look at those though and see trends. And trends are what you look for. Yes?
That's what I mean, to keep in the portfolio. How many would you keep?
Oh, I might only put 1 or 2 in just to show what I did.
Oh.
That way the guys in the interview team would say to you, what's this? And you say, hey, I got feedback.
Okay.
And then they might say, what did feedback say? If you did any kind of an accumulation, put that in maybe. But
One of the, and we'll show you when we start talking more about portfolios, but one of the most outstanding portfolios, some of them most outstanding portfolios, was you get stuck in the written word, all right? You get stuck in letters and what really pops out in your portfolio is what Alan's trying to say is not that. It's charts, it's worksheets, it's artwork, it's pictures, it's projects. It's those are the kind of things that pop out. One of the things that a kid did that I really, really liked, and I knew I should have done this, but to answer your question, is this side of everything that he was doing was your paperwork. It was your letter of introduction.
The front of the page.
The front, like you open it up and right here. And on the back side of that page, over here, was an evaluation. Picture. A letter to you.
Especially you elementary guys, have them all color a
It
picture
had
of you.
something that, this was boring, and this was like, oh. And that, you might have 4 or 5 of them that you like, that are funny or jokes that you want to slap in there. you
Yes.
know?
Very
Let me see that.
realistic, Morgan.
Let me see that.
You're good today.
That's her, somebody drew her,
Oh,
okay?
that
Perfect.
would absolutely be on that other side.
Yes, yes. And here's the thing, when you're being interviewed, remember you're taking this is your teaching tool for the interview. This is the thing that you can go to in the interview, this portfolio, to show them things. It's also to be remembered. Remember, 15 people are being interviewed for this, 3 are coming back. So I look through every other portfolio and it's like, ho-hum, ho-hum, ho-hum. Then I get to yours with all these pictures on the back of the page. And honestly, I've had this conversation, we're deciding who should come back. And somebody says, well, what do you think about Amber? So which one was Amber? You know, really, and I'm not to be offensive, which one was Amber? I'm old. Which one was Amber? And they'd say, well,
Unless you
she
have
was the
brains.
one, she was the one that went to Mercyhurst. Was she the one that had the portfolio with all the pictures? Hear that? She the one that had all those pictures? She the one that had that manipulative that used the bells? Yeah. Oh yeah, she was pretty cool. Let's bring her back. All right? You want to get noticed, something to get noticed like that. Just jump.
One other little thing on those 360s, if you get stuff that is not real positive, but you feel like you could put it in your portfolio, you could put comments on there of, the kid said this, and the next time I did a unit, I did this to try to make an improvement.
Yes.
It shows that you're listening and you're making an effort to grow.
You might have one too. Here's an interesting one. You might have one that says, you're not as mean now as you were. Okay, you put that in there with a little note that says, interesting management situation. And then I come to that and I say, tell me about this management situation. They say, well, this little guy was known for being a terror, but by the end of the time I was there, I had him. When he wrote that, I knew you aren't as bad as you used to be. My teacher said that was the nicest thing he ever said. See what I'm saying? See how you use this stuff? You got to use it. All right. We're going to go over some anything else. And before I go on, sorry. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Yes.
I had my students do an evaluation because I had them create goals in piano class, and I'm moving on to a new term, and I did have them reflect and write comments. Could I use that?
Oh yeah.
I'm moving on to
No. You don't have to do this now. If you've done it, you've done it.
Okay.
No. Everybody should, when we sit down at the very end, be able to tell us how did you get evaluated, how either a unit, a lesson, or whatever. How did you get some self-evaluation, or from them? Yeah.
And I think it's neat to know that Alan's telling you this now because many of you elementary kids are moving on to your special ed placement, and it's hard to get that kind of, it's not that you can't, it's just not the same kind of feedback. So if you be interested in getting it in both places. Secondary people are going into basically the same kind of a different placement within the classroom, so they could do it in the second half, but it's kind of neat to see.
Glenn makes a really good point. You guys are going from elementary into special ed. It's like a whole different world. It's a whole different feel. I almost feel sorry for you because it's not that it's bad. It's just very, very different. And so a lot of the stuff that we're saying, gather away, because you got 2 more weeks. When you have 2 kids, you're pushing in all day. You may have a class where you push in all day. You're really hard to establish kind of those relationships and those kinds of things as much.
When you're talking about keeping like 3D things that the kids are doing, we have them make foldables a lot as study tools. But it'd be good to ask one of them to keep theirs, or should I be making one?
Well, if you could either keep one of theirs or have them make 2, say during the recess, would you make another one? Or
I always love that anyhow.
Yeah, if you said, I do this portfolio thing, would you make me one of those? It's kind of neat if it comes from them. Or you could make one and put it in just as an example.
I mean, it's
This
like
is-
pulling teeth to get them to do it, but some of them are really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think if I ask them, some students
Great.
would give them to
But
me.
student work is better than your work, just
Yeah.
because it's student work. And I really love those things where they do the evaluation, because some, especially the little kid, is funny. They're funny. And guys like me, who's a secondary guy, just eat that up in an interview or whatever, okay? All right. A little bit of whole brain stuff. Last week, we talked a little bit about if you want a behavior, teach the behavior. All right? And I don't know if I hit that hard enough, but right now, we go out and there's a common thing that we see. All right, the common thing that we see is questioning techniques. All right, we see you out there, different ways that you're questioning back and forth. All right, we're going to work a little bit on questioning techniques. But before we do, we're going to do another, I'm going to show you another whole brain thing. All right, it's called a scoreboard. Anybody know what a scoreboard is? Anybody use it? You're going to love this. Use it?
Yep.
Cool. This is scoreboard. All right. You put this up somewhere in the room. We had a student who was at Waterford Elementary that was a pro. I wish I could bring her in. She was a pro at using this thing. You put this up and you put this and you put this. Now I said to you, if you want a behavior, you teach a behavior. Okay. So if, especially this is good to use if you're having something go on in the room that you really want to work on today. Like we're going to work on questioning techniques and how you answer and how I want you to answer and those kind of things. But it can be anything. But the first thing I'm going to teach you is you get a check over here if you do something really well. You get a frowny face if you do something that's sad. Now here's the thing. I really want you to have more recess today because it's a beautiful day out. So if we get to 5 smileys before we get to 5 frownies, we're going to have 15 minutes of extra recess today. Or everybody's going to get a Jolly Rancher, or whatever they prize that they cherish is. But we got to practice on it. When I give you one of these, everybody goes, "Ooh yeah!" Go ahead and try it. Ooh yeah. Yeah, you guys can do better now. When you don't do it very well, like that, you go, "Oh no!" Let me hear it. Oh no! Ooh yeah! Ooh yeah! Yeah, you're getting it right. All right, now that is scoreboard. You can put it up anywhere in the room. You can have it. This young lady I talked about had it around her neck on a big thing that she wore around her neck with a marker on it. And the kids would do something. They'd do something really well. She goes, "Oh boy!" She'd hold it like this, and she'd get up. Whatever. You get it? All right. So not something I would do all the time. Not something I would do every day, but especially if you have a day that you think is going to be, especially if you have a day that you think is going to be kind of challenging. Okay, you have a day that you think is going to press you. All right, so you say, "Hey guys, we're going to try this scoreboard thing, and if we get to 5 of these, we're going to whatever you want it to be." You get it? All right, that's scoreboard. Now, let's talk questioning techniques for a second. I want you in your mind. You don't have to write it down here, but I got it on the sheet. I want you to picture when you're teaching. And you ask the kids a question, too many, sorry. You ask the students a question, what's it look like? How does that go? You're teaching up and down, back and forth, question, what's it look like? Get your sheet, think it over. Anybody have extras? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, turn to your neighbor. Share what it looks like in your room when you start asking questions. Go. Please stay here. Love the way you did this. Love the way you went into the fair share. Thank you. Share with me. Share with me. What do you see? What do you see? Yes?
Well, with kindergarten, if I ask a question, a lot of times it turns into like a 5-minute statement that like totally is something different. Or sometimes it's like the perfect answer and they are concise. And then there's a few times where I call on someone and they're like, I don't remember anymore. So there's always a mix, but most of the time they are right. But sometimes you have to like stop them and they don't know when.
Do they shout out?
Yeah, a few do, and I like will say like, oh, I'm looking for quiet friends that have their hand raised, and then they're like, oh.
I love this elementary stuff where they say, oh, Sally's doing really well, and she's really saying Joey's doing terrible. I love that stuff, because I didn't use any of that. I would just say, Joey, shut up, all right? But I like your stuff better. All right, what else? What do you see? Yes?
One of the things I like Mr. Hutch did that I imitate is when he wants them to raise their hand, he does like a wave in the air. And then for group, it's like holding out your hand and then snap, like you'll say the question and then snap and they'll say it together. So those are two things I really like that I imitate.
I can't do what I'm going to try to do next, 1/10 as well as Hutch. Probably, and only 20th as well as you. But I'm going to try to do just that. That's what we see from Hutch's room, is kids yelling out answers. I don't like it. Gleck said, Dave, we were talking about it. He goes, I don't mind it sometimes. I don't like when you say a question and answer. But if they're going to be shouting out answers, you should pick when. It just shouldn't be when they feel like it, or once in a while, or helter-skelter. Sometimes they put up their hands, sometimes they don't. You need to control what the responses are going to be, how they're going to be given to you. And remember that thing we talked about a second ago? If you want a behavior, teach a behavior. So I'm going to teach you how I want you to respond. Yes, go ahead.
It's just like